Welcome to the Grief Pod with Venetia Quick. This is a weekly podcast which looks at every aspect of something which has or will at some point affect us all. And that is grief. Whether you've lost a loved one or about to lose someone you know, or perhaps you're simply trying to help someone navigate their grief and don't know where to start or what to say, then perhaps this is the podcast for you. Each week, I'll be bringing you different stories and experiences of loss, love, hope, and at times humour. Tanya Chomyk is a life transition expert, a resilience speaker, the creator of Empower Her Summit, and an author of her debut book, Bringing Light to Loss, which aims to redefine grief to reclaim hope and meaning. And Tanya is my guest on this week's episode of the Grief Pod. Tanya, you're very welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
We're going to talk about the book and the message that you're conveying for those struggling with their grief, and especially, you know, for those that are right in it at the moment, to give them hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel. But first, could we talk about how the book came about, and especially the loss of your little boy, Danilo, when he was just 6 months old?
Yes, thank you. So 28 years ago, I lost my infant son, Danilo, at the tender age of 6 months old. And he died in his sleep. And that experience, it's probably the most profound experience anyone can live through, is losing a child.
Of course.
Very unexpectedly. And that loss was so tremendous that I didn't know how I would overcome that. And it's interesting when, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talks about the 5 stages of grief and how, the denial, the anger, the bargaining, the depression, the acceptance. We really do go through all those stages, and they come back to us as well, because grief is not something that ever goes away. It's something that we learn to live with, we build a relationship with. And so during that very traumatic loss, I had a 5-year-old daughter at that time, and she was my rock. She was my reason to continue. She would say things to me, Venetia, that would be like, "Oh, mommy, Danilo came to me at night. He sang to me."
Wow.
She was the one who gave me hope. She was the one who showed me that his earth suit may be gone, but he's always with us. And through her eyes, I was able to see that. And so having that feeling that, yes, he's still with us, he's still here, I was able to then, move forward with that, feeling his presence. And this is how I started navigating grief, because in order to have profound grief, you had to have profound love. And I realized they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, well, they say you have to have love to loss.
Right, exactly.
You have described your family before Danilo's passing as having the $1 million family, the girl, and then the boy. But he was only with you for 6 short months. What was he like in those 6 months?
Oh, he was, it was interesting, because when I had Larissa, people would say, "You don't know what it's like to have a child. I mean, she's just always smiling. She's always laughing. She's quiet." When Danilo came, it's like he came with presence. It's like he had, he would cry out when there was something that troubled him. He would make it known when he was in pain. In fact, Danilo was born with, he had lesions in his heart. And I remember at the time he was being followed, and the cardiologist said, "Everything is fine. The lesions are closing. He has a bit of a murmur, and, we'll see you in 6 months. And that last appointment was November 4th, and he passed away 7 days later. So that was a big shock to everyone. But Danilo was, he had, dark eyes. He had dark hair. He loved when I would bathe him. He would make sounds. He would just brought this sense of joy. And he was like a little, for my daughter, he was like this little, almost like a toy, like a gift. Um, Honestly, it was, a blessing. A child is a blessing. And so I felt I was blessed. I felt, if I think about how God, gave me my daughter first, because she would be the one who would be my rock. And then he gave me beautiful Danilo. And then I guess he said, you know what? I need him up in heaven. Uh, we need another angel. And I'm going to, so Danilo just left like that. And it's funny because I have this picture, it's in front of me, it's always with me, the image. And there's been times where I've wonder what he would look like today. He'd be 28, right? And I'm telling you, I've been tempted, but then I stop, aging the picture, because today with technology, you can do all that. And I realized that no, I meant to remember him just as he was, as that beautiful baby boy.
How did you, the years, the weeks and days and months that followed, and you have to get up because you have Larissa and you have to be, she's 5, she needs you. How did you, though, physically get out of bed and function?
That was hard. It's almost like Larissa was my reason to wake up. Often I'd go to sleep and I'd say, this is a nightmare. I'm going to wake up. And no, I didn't live this. And then it's like, no, you did. And then you're right. I have to get Larissa ready. She was in kindergarten at the time. Imagine going to school one day, you have a brother, and then the next, you don't. And I would get her ready for school, and off she went. And then I would take Danilo's blanket and I would go sit in his room in the rocking chair, and I would rock, and I would hold on to that blanket so I could just have that scent of him. I just didn't want to part with that. And I spent hours in that room, and then something would change. Something would come. Either a bird would fly by, something, and I would just get up and then carry on. And, now it's time. I have to go pick up Larissa. So I got to get ready, compose myself. I'd go pick her up. And you know how smart she was? She would lift my glasses and say, Mommy, did you cry today? She would notice if my eyes were red. And I'd say, no, Mommy's fine. She's fine. And really, she's the one who kept me going. He passed away on Remembrance Day. A month later, my daughter was very much into Beanie Babies. And her father took her to a Beanie Baby convention. They come home, she's happy. I'm trying to carry on, right? It's Christmas coming. I want the tree for her. I want Santa. That kept me going. And the phone rings. And someone on the other end says, calls the name. I said, yes, this is her house. We just want to let you know that she won a baby. And I'm like, oh my God, how exciting. Do you know the type of Beanie Baby she won? She won the angel.
Oh.
Beautiful, pure angel Beanie Baby. That was 28 years ago. And she has that Beanie Baby encased, and it's on her bedpost. She's 33 years old.
Wow.
He's always going to be with us and watching us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But for such a young child to understand where, like you were saying, she's in kindergarten. One day she had a sibling. The next day, or maybe not the next day, but a few days later, she goes back, a week later, whatever. How was she able to process that so young?
I think she kept a lot inside. She would only talk to me really about it, because it was very difficult for my husband at that time to even hear his name. after he passed, there's a lot of guilt. And some people stay in the very dirty pain of grief, and some people can get to the clean side or the clean pain of grief. And Larissa kept a lot inside. And I feel that she would show signs, even now I see in her adult life, of how important he was to her. Certain codes will be his birthday, certain things. We go to the cemetery. She insists she plants the flowers. She does it in a very subtle way, but I think she was very much traumatized. And one day I came across a reading. She wrote something, a childhood recollection. This was in grade 10. And most people write about, going to Walt Disney or my first ballet recital. And Larissa wrote a descriptive, exactly what happened the day her brother died.
Wow.
And when I read that, Venetia, I was in tears. That's how I knew. But at that time, when someone passes at home, forensics come, police officers come, right? They kept her occupied because I was just cradling my son. I was just keeping him warm in his blanket. And she wanted to show the police officer how well she can draw, how well she could color without passing the lines. And that's was going through her mind at that time because she wasn't aware. So I don't know to what extent, but she saw it through our pain. Her pain, she saw through our pain. And she just held it in. And it would come out once in a while. She would talk to me about it. But I feel that she went through a hard time. We think that, we're going through it as parents, but we don't realize the trauma and the effect it has on the people around us, other children. Yeah.
They're too young to articulate it. They're too young to really
Right.
process it or understand it. So sometimes
Exactly.
it's much later when everything comes out.
Exactly.
What for you are the most triggering moments then and now? How have perhaps the triggers changed as well?
Yeah. So the triggering moments probably, so first of all, grief shows up when it wants to. It has its own agenda. It just, there will be a reminder. And now I guess the way I see it is I feel I'm on that side of acceptance. I'm on that side of I've created meaning from my son's life. I don't even want to say loss, his life, because he was here for 6 months. But the triggers will always be the day he was born and the day he passed. Those to me are the biggest triggers. And funnily enough, it's not even the day he passed, it's the night before.
Yeah.
It's the night before.
Yeah. And it's,
because I know. Yeah.
yeah.
Because I feel like, okay, this is the night I went to sleep. And do you know, Venetia, this is something. Every November 11th, my eyes open at 5:30 in the morning. That's exactly the time I opened my eyes that morning. And I whispered to my husband, what an angel. He slept through the night. Little did I know the realization of those words would come true that day. So it's like there's that sign. And now I feel it's signs. It's signs I get from him. And I feel this connection with him that I never had. Probably not as deep as when he was alive.
I think it's interesting what you say about the night before, or because I think when we're going through grief or we're trying to help somebody going through grief, we tend to sort of think, okay, Christmas, New Year's Eve, when's their birthday, when was their wedding anniversary, and we sort of, in our minds, we might write it down in our diary, almost text so-and-so on that day. But actually, it's the days leading up that catch people out.
Yes, exactly. It is actually the days leading up, because then the day of, it's like, I've grieved it already. I've felt that emotion. I felt that pain. And then it's like, okay, I'm in this space now. Because that's what happens, right? There's, joy comes with sorrow. So when you're going through those emotions, something else will spark a moment of joy, and then you carry on. So those reminders are there to say that I'm still here. I'm always going to be with you. And they're not meant to be forgotten.
What
They're
do you,
not meant to be
yeah,
forgotten.
I'm wondering about as well, like, so you've gone through like the absolute heartbreak of losing your son, but you have found a way to go forward, continue forward, work, and continue your life. What do you think was the turning point or was there a turning point, or was it gradual?
It was gradual. There was a couple of events that led to, so when my son passed away, November 11th, you know, my husband at that time said he didn't want to live in the house anymore. We needed to move. It was too difficult to stay. And so put up the house for sale. So there was a lot of action, motion that almost like you keep going, right? And I realized I was on maternity leave, of course, because I was taking care of my daughter and my son. And I said to myself, well, January's coming and I don't want to stay in this space. So it's a conscious choice to say that I want to keep moving forward. I can't change what happened. It's the realization of knowing that you cannot change what happened.
Mm.
It's about accepting that it did. And then how do I move forward? So it really is taking the why question, because that stays with you for a long time. Why me? Why this? Why was I being punished? Why God? Right? And then it's switching to the what. What do I do now? How do I move forward? Because guess what? I'm still alive. I have a child to take care of. I have a family. They need me. And I need myself. And so going back to work was very important. But this is how I did it. I paced it. You see, I paced everything. I paced the fact that I'm going to show up to work. I don't want to see the people that were at the funeral. I can't deal with it.
Mm.
So I applied for a position within the company, within the organization I was working in at the university at the time. I took a developmental assignment in another department because I felt safe. It's like,
Mm.
I'm going to come to work. I'm slowly going to regain that strength and start using my mind and feeling good about myself. And no one's really going to know my story until
Mm.
they did, right?
Mm.
Because the university and then the first Easter. So it's the first of everything. So that first Easter,
Mm.
show up, my boss walks in. Tanya, how was your Easter? Psh,
Mm.
just started crying. It's like, oh my God. And she says to me, she goes, Tanya, I see you walk into this office every day and with a smile. And I ask myself, how do you do it? So yeah, they all knew, but no one said anything. And so they allowed me to really start gaining that inner strength I needed to keep moving forward.
For most people, finding that strength would take different times and different stages, maybe depending on the person they've lost or their relationship with the person, or, it's not going to be at a certain stage. At what point do you think for most people, though, that starts to kick in?
It's hard to quantify that and to give you a detail because I'll tell you why. I think a lot of how we heal and how we deal with life comes
Mm.
from our own outlook of life. It's our mindset, right? And there are people that, come from this space of scarcity, come from this space of victim, and they stay there for a long time. And then there are those that come from a space of, I don't mean victor, but I can get through this. I can see the light. And I have to say, I'm probably very grateful that it naturally comes to me.
Mm.
Because when I think of the loss I had with my son, there were losses before. I lost my father in 95, my son in 98, and my brother in 99. I mean, three major losses
Very close
in a
together.
short period of time, very close together. And what got me through it is, again, it's that acceptance. It's that, how do I keep moving forward? I can't control what happens. But the truest form of freedom, and that means from suffering, is acceptance. Is acceptance and not being attached to those things or those people, because they will come and they will go, and we have no control of that. And I think that has helped me navigate. And this is how I try to help other people to kind of regain that, look at that inner side of themselves, do this deep thinking, self-awareness, and understanding what are the things that you value. Because if freedom, which freedom is my number one core value, it's also freedom from suffering. And that's a choice.
It's interesting, I think, because there are days where you can get up and you feel good, or you can have a run of several months of just feeling great, and then boom, out of nowhere. And it can be years down the line. And then there can be sort of a sense, oh, I thought I was over this. I thought it had gone away. And I think that's what throws people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what throws people. And that just goes to show you that that's why grief, it doesn't go away. It's learning to build a relationship with it. Just like we build a relationship with people that we love, we build a relationship with things and people that we've lost. Because you see, grief doesn't just belong to death. Grief belongs to anything that has changed from what was to what is. And that speaks to identity, relationships, careers. We're mourning. We're mourning that, I was a wife, no longer a wife. I don't have that identity anymore. I was a director in a company. You lose your job. That identity shifts. There's a loss there. So grief doesn't just belong to death, even though that is hardest form grief.
With for people listening to you right now who are just in the early stages, in the throes, maybe the first couple of years, and it's still all encompassing, it's the way forward is unclear, it's like triggering times, what would you say to them to keep going?
I would say honor your emotions first. The most important thing is, if you feel like crying, if you feel sad, then allow yourself the space to feel. Because you can't heal unless you feel. And when you want to cry those 100 tears, don't stop at 50. Cry them all. Because it's all part of this. If we suppress how we feel, if we suppress the emotions, that's not going to serve us. It means we're meant to carry that emotion. We're meant to feel it. I feel sad today, and it's okay. I'm okay to feel sad. The self-compassion comes with that too. We need to be kind to ourselves when we're going through this, and not say, I should be over it by now. Oh, we're never over it. You just learn to live with it. But I think self-compassion is really important. Allow yourself to feel and find those moments of joy, because the moments of joy don't negate the fact that you lost and you suffered, but it shows that you're still honoring your life and how you want to move forward. And there's nothing wrong. I think people always feel that I can't be smiling, I can't be happy. Yes, it's okay to smile. Yes, it's okay to smile, So it's fine, because you're trying to move with this. And being happy, is okay. Being sad is okay. So I think the biggest thing is to honor those emotions, to be compassionate with ourselves, to find those moments of joy, and also to seek support. Sometimes just talk to someone, reach out to someone. Grief is not meant to be dealt with alone. In fact, we're not meant to travel life's journey alone. We're meant to do it with people.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's interesting that you say that, because a lot of people, when somebody dies and they're trying to sort of, there might be a night, say they go to something, or they're in a photo with somebody and it's on social media, and somebody says, oh, how is so-and-so doing? Oh, they're grand. I saw them smiling in a photo. And I think that can be sort of deceiving as well.
Yes, it can be deceiving, but it's also showing that you're still moving forward with life, that you're showing that it's okay. I can be smiling. But yes, there's a lot of things going on with people. We don't know how people are feeling, right? And I remember once when, it's interesting because you think the people that are going to be there for you will be,
Yeah.
and yet they weren't. And then other people show up and you're like, wow, this is surprising, right? Because some of your closest friends and family, they don't know how to deal with it. They don't even know what to say to support you, right? So there comes that point where sometimes you feel, I'm going to take, the support that I need and that's coming my way, and learning not to judge that as well, because we have these expectations on our family and friends, and they don't know how to deal with grief. And I learned over time that it's okay. I have to understand that too, that they don't know how to deal with it. And
What
if they don't know what to say, it's fine. But yeah.
what would you say are the tools that people need? Like, are there things that you've done or you advise to do every day just to even get the headspace to deal with
For
your loss?
so for myself, I think writing has always been a solace for me. And so I would journal, I would write. And in fact, while I was working at the university, at one point I decided to do my master's degree, and it was in family relations and family life and human relations. And we were asked to write a paper, and I thought I'd write about career and family, and I ended up going and writing about grief. And I wrote everything that happened about my son's passing. So I pretty much took Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of grief and I inserted my story. That was very therapeutic and very healing for me. And that paper was written 4 years later that my son passed. And I deliberately set the tone for that. I went and put all the books on the dining room table. My husband at the time was traveling. Kids were up to sleep. And I wrote and I cried and I wrote and I cried. That was my process. So there were times where I wanted to talk. There were times where I just wanted to do this on my own. And so when I handed this paper to my professor, I felt like it was just between him and myself. So pacing that is really important. I think everyone is going to grieve differently. Grief is universal, but it's extremely personal. And so things that now that help me after all these years, I've become very spiritual. I feel, my son's presence. I feel this angelic presence. And so I'll do an angel card reading. I will journal. I will always, kiss his picture in the morning. I'll talk to him. I go for walks and I'll talk. I mean, sometimes even I could be in situations where you're driving and you're trying to find a parking spot, and then I'll turn around, I'll lift up and I'll say, okay, Danilo, help your mama find a spot. Like, I've come to this place of that meaning now. I've created meaning from that life. I've written this book to bring hope to others, to show people that they're not alone in this process. And I brought all types of transitions we go through, not just loss of a child, but dissolution of marriage and career, all kinds. And I feel that Danilo has created this opportunity for me to be this messenger of hope. And so I think it's always been ingrained in me, but I think this experience in his life has really propelled me to do this work. So
You come
yeah.
from several generations of very strong women, women who escaped horrendous situations, which are now happening again. Because your grandmother was from Ukraine.
Yes.
So it's, you've known struggle through the generations, which did you ever with everything with Danilo and your marriage and losing your brother and your dad, did you ever go, I've had enough? Why me?
Yes. Yes. I think it's interesting because when Danilo passed, it was like, oh, like that was like the biggest why me. And then when I lost my brother, I felt I wasn't mourning my brother. I was still mourning my son. I was just there. I wasn't present. And I felt I started mourning him much later. And that's why this grief, I say we pace it sometimes, and it'll take time for it to show up. So it was processing all that. And yes, I say, why me? And then I say, okay, I got hit with the hardest thing. And that means that from now on, whatever happens in my life, I can handle it, because nothing can come close to bearing a child.
Yeah.
So I said, God gave me the strength. The resilience is comes through the generations of the women who have gone through this. My grandmother lost 3. I lost my son. We all lost a son. My mother lost her first son. So that pattern, but I was chosen. I say God chose me to give birth to this angel. So I'm grateful for that I had this beautiful angel, and then bestowed me with another son. But once you go through something like that, I can deal with anything.
Yeah.
So the divorce, the career, that was like, okay, I can do this. It's like I processed the grief before it was going to happen. So when it happened, I was prepared.
I think your book is going to bring so much hope to so many people. I think it's very much a book that, I know when I lost my husband, several people gave me a copy of Joan Didion's book, and I started to read it, and I went, oh, I can't read that now. But I went back to it about a year, 18 months later, and I read it all in one sitting. And I feel very much this is a book that will really help people when they're ready at whatever stage.
Exactly. And I like that you said that, whenever they're ready. It's interesting because there was tragedy that struck a community about a month ago. A 3-year-old girl died in a bouncy. I mean, you just can't imagine the whirlwind and all of that. And this person reached out to me, former client that I knew years ago, and said, Tanya, I've been meaning to reach out to you. I need your book. I'd like a copy of your book. And I said, sure. I said, I'll come and bring it to you. And she goes, no, I don't want to trouble you. I said, no, I'll come and bring it to you. And that connection was so meaningful because we sat for an hour, we talked. I gave her the book, and she said, I said, read it when you're ready, because it's exactly that. You'll start off and it's going to hit you hard because I hit you with, the story. So you start with that island of struggle, and you do get the island of hope, and you need to be ready for that. But I've heard other people say that they've read it in 1 or 2 sittings, and other people that have put it down a couple of times. So it's interesting, but you're right. It's pacing that, and it's being ready for it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on. And obviously you're joining me today from Canada. Where can people get your book online?
So they can buy it on Amazon. And Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, and I think actually from all other countries, you're pretty much, you can order it from just Amazon, yeah, and local bookstores as well. But you'll have to come to Canada for that. But Amazon is where you can get the book.
Brilliant.
For sure.
Tanya Chomyk,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we'll no doubt talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Grief Pod with Venetia Quick. You can listen on SoundCloud or wherever you get your podcasts. We also have an online community on Facebook, The Grief Pod, or on Instagram @GriefPod Series.